Haskins has a seam. Hassan Haskins down the sideline, showing off some speed. Got up right inside the 10.
I thought it was a really strong performance. Not some of the big highlights. Defensively, 4 3-and-outs to start the second half. And just as a team, too. Got a fast start in this game. And then just kept building the lead and extending it. I thought the pressure on their quarterback was a huge factor. Aiden, Ajabo, Upshaw, and others. I mean, they got to the quarterback multiple times. Big game by Hassan Haskins, career high. I think that's his 5th 100-yard game of the season, and made the big play. He made the big play on the outside zone play for about 64, and then Cornelius Johnson got behind the defense. Thought other highlights too. It was just a strong performance by both lines, and good to see Luke Schoonmaker have a big day as well. 2 touchdown catches, and so get some guys healthier next week, and just go about having good days. Good days. It'll be the goal now as we go down the stretch. Good day of meetings, good day of practice, and then go play the game. David Ajabo just keeps getting better and better. He's doing a great job. The combination of him and Aiden, and also, part of that was to put David in on more of the base defenses as well. So he's going to getting more playing time. I thought he really responded well to that. But it was big. I mean, he's got a knack for that. He's somebody you really have to account for. His ability to rush the passer.
Good afternoon. This afternoon live, Dennis Fithian with you here on this Monday. It is a beautiful day. Go ahead and ask for something better here on November the 8th, but you're not going to get it. It is glorious outside here in Washtenaw County as I come to you from the Peach Mountain Studios, ready to get things underway on this afternoon live. We'll be talking about this past weekend. We've got a basketball game to get to that was played on Friday, a football game that took place on Saturday night at the Big House. Jim Harbaugh just concluding moments ago his press conference down in Ann Arbor. We will bring you some of that audio coming up on things he had to say. I've already seen some of the things that the coach had to say regarding officials. We'll definitely get to that. Also address the quarterback situation coming up in this game against Penn State, which will be played. We know that it is a noon start. And we just found out that the Michigan-Maryland game will take place at 3:30 the following week. And I guess we can put all of our money on Michigan-Ohio State being played at noon, as it has been every game since, 2006. It's been at noon. I would bet this one would be at noon as well. We'll wait for that official announcement. And we'll start things out just going back and talking about this game. Now, if you're somebody that's watching this live, you want to make a comment down below in YouTube, I'll read those comments or something you want me to talk about. If you are on the TMBR message boards, and that is now the Wolverine Den, we could tell you, the Wolverine Den. If you're there, you can go ahead and leave a question or comment, and I'll read those throughout the broadcast. That happens every day. I check it out throughout while I'm at. We'll be here right around this time, weekdays, bringing you the latest and what's going on with Michigan. And what's going on right now, Harbaugh just with his weekly news conference after Indiana, looking forward down to the game coming up this weekend at State College. And, that's where we'll start here. I'll look back, Saturday's game, coming off the loss, you had to wonder if, there was going to be a Michigan State hangover. There was not. And, that was a good performance by Michigan to go out and take care of what they had to against IU, and a lot of strong performance. And that was, would start with Hassan Haskins. Now, he needed to have a strong performance because Blake Corum got hurt in that game. I think it's Michigan's second offensive series. Corum hobbles off with a leg injury, did not return, and Haskins just turned it up. And we've seen this a lot over the years where you get one Michigan back and he emerges, and this is how it feels right now. Whether, I hope Blake Corum's able to play on Saturday, but meanwhile, I think Hassan Haskins just being like, I don't want him off the field. Like, he's doing some things now, and the hurdling is fine. It's one of those things you see if you watch it on football. You see guys trying it all over the place. He's been more effective, whatever his ratio is to actual hurdles to guys going up hurdling and getting, taken down to the ground. Haskins has a pretty good ratio of being able to do that. He also has this ability to keep his legs churning and have this rugby scrum moving forward. We've seen him do that. It was the Northwestern game this past Saturday. He did the same thing. You're looking and, you got a crowd of people around him. Next thing you know, he's pushing the pile forward for another 5-10 yards. He's been great at that. So, yeah, the Hassan Haskins game this past weekend, they needed him, and he brought it. He brought it and had an awesome performance, his best one statistically, with the maize and blue. The other thing, you get to the QBs in this one, you saw both of them, but Cade McNamara, this was a typical Cade McNamara game for this year. Michigan getting back to, pounding the ball on the ground, and then, taking some shots here and there when it came down to Cade McNamara. I was just going to turn around because I remember I wrote down his numbers at the half. 6 of 12, 81 yards in the first half with a TD. Haskins had 122 yards. Michigan led 17-7 at the break. You look at those numbers, that was Cade McNamara not doing a hell heck of a lot. But they did get down to the red zone, which was one of the things that also stood out against Michigan State, stood out here against Indiana as well. But off of a fake to Haskins and then a bootleg and then finding Schoonmaker, the tight end, for a touchdown, that was a beautifully drawn up and executed play by Michigan. As far as the red zone, like people say, this is like what has been, I guess I would say, a narrative for Michigan now for at least 2 weeks, maybe more, that they got to turn their field goals, the red zone opportunities into touchdowns, and not settle for field goals. And yeah, you want 7, you want 3, and that's going to cost you the big games. I think everybody agrees with all of that. I think everybody does. And that's something. They've got 3 games here. They're in the mix. I think that however you were feeling coming off the Michigan State game, probably down in the dumps, and however long it took you to rebound, I think, Saturday night was a little bit better tonic than I thought it was going to be for Michigan fans. Just, watching them go out there and is this a championship team? If they, and here's the thing, like I would say, probably not, because I don't think that they're, as we sit here, I don't think they'll beat Ohio State. And I think this game coming up this Saturday, it's very losable. I don't know, Penn State's favored by a point. I mean, it's just an ultimate toss-up game. But as we've watched Michigan all year long, if they would punch these red zone opportunities in and have a few more TDs, well, I think probably not being a contender for the Big Ten East, where if they were going down there and had a really good rate down there in the end zone, I'd be talking about them not only as a Big Ten East title contender, which you're in play for, but we'd be talking about them being in the college football playoff. And hey, maybe this would be a year that they would be able to win it all, sneak up and surprise everyone. So yeah, I mean, is that the biggest bugaboo for this team? The red zone efficiency? Yeah, I would say that is, because if you're down there, you can make a case that beat Michigan State. And if they had a better number that way down there, where they're going down there and finding guys, whether it was jump balls or running it in, whatever they were doing, and finding guys in the end zone, this would be a team you'd be sitting here talking about. They'd be in the college football playoff right now, and you'd have a 3-game season, and you'd say everything's in front of them. Why not Michigan and all that if they can continue playing the way that they have been playing? So can they achieve that? Well, they have to coming up this Saturday. And they've got 3 games here, and one of them at Maryland, mentioned that news. It's a 3:30 start now. That's out. Should be an easier task than the 2 bookend games, Penn State and Ohio State, of course. I think we all know that. All right, so when it comes down to the QBs here, we've watched how Harbaugh and company have divvied up the snaps and how they have inserted J.J. McCarthy in at different times, whether it was against Wisconsin, the first snap of the second half, or when they do get down in the red zone, certainly if they feel like it's a running situation. We've seen McCarthy there. And then we've seen him these last 2 weeks in some spots. You know, he got the second series in the second half and was able to go down there and I think get some points, get a field goal when it was all said and done there at the end. The other one was that, let me just check. Was it a field goal for sure? Let's see. I might as well check the number, since I sit here and write them all down on every possession to make notes. I might as well look. It was the second possession in the third quarter. Yeah, it was ultimately a field goal that went down there and made it 27. But there was another spot where you had Cade taking a shot and limping off, and then McCarthy came in and he got sacked. There was another field goal that was in the third quarter. That was the third possession that Michigan had. And there's been 2 times here. You talk about the rotation, as I talk about the rotation, and you think about the rotation and how it's been going here for Gaddis and Harbaugh and J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara, is that last week against Michigan State, there was the fumble, and then McNamara came in. Maybe he took a shot there, because the next time Michigan had the ball, you had J.J. McCarthy coming out there and having the trouble with the handoff with Blake Corum and a fumble, really big turnover, and Harbaugh indicating that Cade McNamara was working through something, whether, some people said he was in the tent or he is just getting evaluated, taped up, whatever it was, wasn't ready to come back in. I think that was a similar situation when McNamara took that shot and was limping off. They needed JJ to come in. Well, you say that is a break where, all right, he's a little bit banged up. Let's get him a blow and then get the other guy back out there, like get him a little bit of a rest. I don't know. But I say all that to look ahead to this Saturday against Penn State. We are in the portion of the season here where it's down at the end. And I think that, the quarterback rotation has been able to get J.J. McCarthy a heck of a lot of time in some situations where, those are extremely valuable. All of those snaps on the road at Michigan State in a tie game, against Indiana when you need to bounce back, being put in there, down at the goal line in Wisconsin. I mean, it goes on and on. We've seen and we know how many snaps and we've watched this. I think when you're coming up to Saturday, this is where I would stop it if I was Harbaugh and company. I think Cade McNamara at this point, when you can see the finish line with these 3 games, I would ride Cade McNamara. I would do what the majority of college football teams and coaches have done throughout the history of this game. They have gone with one quarterback. I know there's instances, and I know there's reasons that it's happening now, but now that you do have just the 3 games, to me, it is important, I would think, to say, Cade, it gives him more confidence, gives McNamara more confidence. I think it's going to give the team more confidence. And I just think when you don't have to worry about, not that Cade's necessarily looking over his shoulder, but knowing that he's got 3 downs to work with, knowing that if, the defense gets the ball back, that, he's going out there, that he doesn't have to worry about any kind of shuffle, that he can stay in a rhythm, that the rest of the line, they're going to hear the same voice, that they're going to know that this guy's leading them out there. I think that's important. I think that's what Jim Harbaugh is going to do. We'll see what he has to say down at his press conference today. If he says, if he was asked, he's been asked every week, and he said the same thing. We're going to continue to do what we've done. I think I've said this every week. We're going to have McNamara out there, and at times we're going to put JJ in. I'm thinking that's exactly what he said. We'll see. I don't think he should do that. I think that now is the time that it should change up, and he should fully go with Cade McNamara. I don't know what you think about that. If it's like, hey, I just trust the coach, whatever he wants to do, and I want JJ to come back next year, so I don't want him to get upset, so keep doing what you're doing. We're not down there, or we don't know the dynamic and all those things. That's fine. I think what we do know is what we see in front of us, and you have a game here, and however you want to look at last week, at least playing time, it can have an adverse effect on the team. And, is it the biggest thing? Is it, calling for somebody to get out? No, it's just an opinion. I think that Cade McNamara should be given all the snaps and let him go. I think he's earned it. And I think anything that comes down to J.J. McCarthy, I don't know specifically what kind of conversations that Harbaugh and Gaddis and company had with a young freshman about playing time. But I think you get to this point in the season, I think he's going to understand, hey, we got a championship on the line. And you know what? If needed, feel pretty good about you having to come in. Cade gets his bell wrong, or, breaks the chin strap or something, and you're needed in there, you feel pretty good. And hey, you've had that experience on the road and all of that. It's a pretty good situation. So keep your head up and get ready. You might be in there after the first snap of the game, but I feel that way. I don't know how you feel. I'll look, and I think most Michigan fans feel the same way as me, or they just say, hey, leave it to the coaches, man. These guys, everything that the coaches do, I just trust. Whatever they want to do, go ahead. I'm fully behind them. I get that. I get that kind of response when it comes down to it. Speaking of responses, let's just look here and see what kind of responses we are getting to the quarterback situation. And what we are getting is a thought that Jim Harbaugh had to say at his news conference today about Big Ten officials. We'll get to that straight ahead here. It had to do with some of the calls against MSU. All right, thoughts on Michigan, Indiana. The defense clamping down in the second half. How the offense went through and was able to win this game, getting up 17-7, winning the game 29-7. They convert some of these red zone opportunities and are able to do that against Penn State and continue to do that. They could end up winning this thing. That's what it's going to come down to. Not specifically that, but that's going to be a big reason. They can get down there, move the ball, then punch it in. We might be talking about this team as something special. We're ready to find out over the next 3 weeks if they're ready to do that. Now, when it comes to some of the other things here, and Michigan was better in the red zone. They might be in the college football playoffs. We have also a basketball game to get to, plus the Michigan recruiting spotlight and the Memorabilia Minute. And we will get to all of those coming up here. And we will also play some Jim Harbaugh audio, because I see that has just come through. So, why don't I go to that before I do anything else? Because I'll get to basketball coming up straight ahead. But let's go to Jim Harbaugh. This was the coach's press conference for today, Monday, the 8th. And Coach, I guess be in pretty good mood after the victory.
What makes John Dotson the whole wide receiver as well?
Yeah, a lot of good things. Quarterback's very good running back, Kane. John Dotson, receivers, tight ends. Very good offensive line. Defensively, outstanding secondary. Really good linebackers, good up front. I mean, it's just good. good, solid, strong team all the way around.
All right, Larry.
Jim, can you give us an update on Blake and Eric? Can you expect them to play and any other?
No, I don't have any updates on injuries at this time.
Not a surprise
It's
there.
a matter of team getting working every day, trying every day. I mean, you're refreshing. You're trying to have good days. Good meetings, good practice, and go play the game.
This is Jim Harbaugh from today. You're watching. Wonder why I'm not
Are
talking.
there aspects of Cade's game that you've seen throughout the season that might have even exceeded your expectations for a first-year start at that position?
He's playing really well. I think he's each week showing really good play. And I would say it's in the term expectation, exceeded expectation. I mean, with all players, I mean, they have their license and the ability to take that as high as they can.
With the ball security in particular, is that
One more question after this one. We'll respond, then we'll go back and play some more of this news conference from Jim Harbaugh. This is just minutes ago down in Ann Arbor.
Been outstanding.
Larry?
Jim, Dotson was one of a few Big Ten players that have 200 yards. Cornelius had a big game receiving. What do you make of that of receivers, putting up really big numbers this year in Big Ten in terms of yards receiving?
Yeah, there's some really, really good players that are receivers, really good players that are quarterbacks. I mean, really good explosive offenses in the Big Ten.
Jennifer.
All right, well, let's put it down there for 1 second. There it is, talking about what, at least from the outset, his thoughts on Penn State. Likes Cade, didn't want to get into a whole lot there. There is a question that is coming up about the referees at Michigan State. That could be right now. Let's get back there and see.
Level of excitement, just kind of how the
This is the Hammer talking exciting.
Just a few weeks to play and so many teams still.
Good question.
For you, is that exciting with the possibilities that exist? For,
It is exciting.
for your team.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next game. The next today's meetings, today's practice. Excited to have a good day.
Stoney.
Jim, Saturday night there was a play where you guys got a first down and you called timeout right before. You go through, was that a plan to just let the?
Good question. First series of the third quarter. Were they going to go for it from their own 30?
Yeah,
Jim.
we're trying to take some time off the clock.
So you didn't want him to snap the ball, it looked like you did right after you called timeout. And you got
Oh, you're talking about the short yardage play?
Yeah,
4th and 1.
Yeah. That was a play we'd called. It was dependent on the look. We really didn't get the look that we wanted to run the play. But then as the play was kind of developing, we thought we could still run it against the look they had, and just looked to me like I wasn't sure everybody was on the same page. So that's why I called the timeout.
Left, Michael.
Jim, what is the process like of putting together an offensive game plan when some of the bigger players at the skill positions may or may not be available by the end of the week?
What's it like?
I guess how do you go about building a game plan, not knowing if some of your primary contributors like Blake and Eric will actually be available on Saturday?
Next man up.
It doesn't change. It doesn't change.
Expectations for the position.
There's more of a next man up mindset and changing a game plan.
We'll let one question
Right, Nick.
more come through here, and then we'll make
Question
some more
about Monty
responses.
Smith. We've seen him for a couple years now. It's been, I don't think he got in the field as much as he wanted maybe early in his career, but it's been steadily up. And this year it seems like he's turned a corner. When you watch him, where's he grown the most this year, would you say?
To me, when I look at it, just his physicality, his knockback, his ability to unload his hips out of his stance, and that strength is the other. He's very, very strong, and inconsistently, consistently strong throughout the game in his conditioning and his strength. Just how he's developed as a football player. I mean, I'm just really pleased. I know he is with how he's developed as a football player.
Yeah, I'm pleased too. Like, I think if you're a Michigan fan, you're pleased from what you've seen of Mazi Smith, number 58. There have been a lot of years where you've had some off-season hype about a particular player coming out of spring. Heck, I can go back to used to call it the Grady Brooks hype machine. Grady Brooks for a couple of years. Grady Brooks, outstanding spring. He's had a tremendous spring, and then you didn't really see him once the season started. And so I always take it with a grain of salt when I hear guys that haven't brought it and you haven't seen much of, and then you hear, well, they're just having a great spring. So, okay, well, noted. Let's see it actually when the lights are on. And Mazi Smith has brought it. I think that's something I didn't say much about the D-line, except that they, had all the 3 and outs in the second half, and they just allowed the 1 touchdown to that third string quarterback, the true freshman who wasn't even in for spring. But, the D-line, and, the defensive ends, Hutchinson and Ajabo should get all of and in this game, Upshaw, and the way that they're just pinning their ears back and the pressure that they're able to bring off the edge. I mean, if football's a passing game, defensively, having an edge rusher that can get to the quarterback is really important. And Michigan's got that right now going on with what they're bringing with their defensive ends. But it really helps out inside, whether it's Hinton or Mazi Smith, and those guys have been up to the challenge. Wish they were a little bit more up to the challenge there at MSU. Of course, I mean, that's the one thing of the spotlight on them. But, they still have everything in front of them here. So let's see. Can everybody elevate or tick it up 2 more times? You can say 3 more times, that game at Maryland, but definitely at Penn State. And, of course, the last game against OSU. Oh, you want more Jim Harbaugh? All right, here is the coach at his weekly press conference, taking questions from the media.
Rushers you faced during your career who were especially good at knocking the ball out of the quarterback's hands, and what is it about David Ajabo that makes him good at that?
Yeah, he. I think the ones that are really good at that are they train themselves to be. I mean, he's got guys with long arms, that length, that wingspan, that athletic ability and balance. There's so many things that are key, but he's coached and he's trained to do it, and he's got a lot of the athletic gifts to be able to get that done.
Wilson played with a messed up collarbone in 2016. Shea dealt with the oblique early on in the season 2019. Joe had the hand issue last year. How much value do you ascribe to players, particularly at the quarterback position, playing through pain, injuries, and such?
There's how much that valued? I mean,
Yeah.
It's a quality. It's something that I take a lot of pride in. As a lot of football players take a lot of pride in that.
All right, we'll get one more question in here.
Brendan?
Jim, I'm working on a story about the 1986 Ohio State game. I know you don't.
Pain threshold. I guess that was the word I was searching for that word. Some have it. Some guys have a very high pain threshold. It's a really good quality. that a real football player prides himself on.
86
I want to
OSU.
story about the 1986 Ohio State game. I know you don't like to talk much about the guarantee part of it, but what do you remember from the game itself? Sort of.
Jamie Morris had a great game.
Quarterback and what it meant to your program as a whole to be able to pull out that win and how important it was.
Yeah, I just, like you said, I mean, it's just not one of those guys that loves to get up and pontificate on what I did or what happened 35 years ago or, et cetera. It's just,
Do you remember any of your teammates being particularly good or?
yeah, I remember a lot of it. I remember every bit of it. I just, I'm not, it's just not something that I enjoy doing, standing up and pontificating on what I did before, or we did before, or anything. Just in the now, in the present, getting ready for, excited about this football fight. It's coming up. Doing everything we can to, as a coach, prepare our players, get them to where they can have a good day. We're just trying to have good days, good meetings, good practices. Another good day after that. Try for another one after that.
All right.
And go play the game.
All right, fair enough. He didn't want to look back to a 1986 guarantee. That's fine. Staying in the moment. Important here for the head coach. We don't need to be going back 35 years ago talking about any guarantees. Look ahead towards Penn State coming up on Saturday. Well, I'll look ahead to Penn State coming up on Saturday as well. The Nittany Lions, I watched, was it the first time I watched them this year? I think so, against the Iowa Hawkeyes on the road, the top 5 battle. And Penn State was going to win that game until Sean Clifford got hurt, and then the backup was completely a fish out of water, false starts, fumbles, interceptions all over the place. They still had a shot to win that game, but yeah, quarterback injury on the road there derailed them. What other games? So they lost to Illinois. I don't know. I don't know what happened in that game against Illinois, the 9 overtime game. That one's got a sting. That one's got a hurt for them, losing that one there. I did watch the second half of Penn State at Ohio State. Penn State was in that game. There were a lot of opportunities, I thought, for Ohio State to put some distance between themselves and Penn State. They did not do that. That was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter at the Horseshoe. So depending on what Penn State team shows up, I'm guessing that a good Penn State team with Michigan coming in is going to show up in this particular game here. It's not like they're going to say, let's just overlook Michigan or something. They'll bring everything they've got here. If this feels like it's going to be a fourth quarter game, Michigan has got some players that have been playing really well. Health is going to be a big factor, as Andrel Anthony and as well as Schoonmaker has done here. Having All as a receiver, I would think that would be a pretty big deal too. So All and Anthony, the news conference we just listened to talking about the pain threshold of a quarterback. Kate McNamara has been taking shots, and I don't know if I look back to the Rutgers game, the last series before the half, he threw a ball to Mike Sanderstill and then came out and there was a late hit by the Rutgers player, and then he didn't make a very good throw, and then he had a bad second half. I don't know if that affected him or not, but that was a thought that he didn't really play well. It wasn't great with passing after he had taken that hit. Whatever he was working through at Michigan State, where J.J. McCarthy had to come in. Of course, McCarthy fumbled that ball. I'm not blaming Cade. I'm not blaming Jay. I'm not just saying that was one of the instances there. I think there was another unplanned snap for McCarthy on Saturday when they were getting down close to the red zone, and then McNamara took a shot, and then you even heard Brock Hewart, who was the color analyst. If you're watching the game, he said, or it could have been the play-by-play guy, Joe Davis, who said, the McNamara limps off, here comes McCarthy, and then McCarthy took a sack too. So, I'm saying that not to say that he doesn't have a great pain threshold, but he has been taking some big hits, and maybe that, could be part of it here when you get to playing 2 quarterbacks coming up. on Saturday. All right. And Jahan Dotson asking about the wide receiver who threw up, 200 yards and had a hat trick this past weekend. Yeah, I would think Michigan DBs, they were blankets. They were great. And getting a pass rush, I mean, does Michigan have the secondary? And do they have the pass rushers to get to Clifford to be able to contain Jahan Dotson? I think so. I like that matchup. Now, if they had a bruising or exceptional running back and, a passing game, make you think more like it could be MSU and watch out for some of that play action. But, Dotson is a huge factor in this game. Hey, you heard it here first. Don't let him go for over 200 yards or Michigan's going to lose the game. All right. The Michigan Recruiting Spotlight, the Memorabilia Minute, and some thoughts on the basketball team's exhibition at Wayne State. I paid $6 for the exhibition feed on Friday. And, it was fun just to see the team for the first time this year. I was not down at the scrimmage against DePaul, but to me, that Michigan had this top 3 recruiting class, and we know about the big names that they lost, and Hunter Dickinson coming back, and really, I was going to see. I'm getting the first glimpse at these freshmen, and Frankie Collins, Zeb Jackson, for that matter. But neither of those guys available. Collins, they said, with a groin injury, Zeb with an illness. So we'll see what happens with those guys. So we did see the other freshmen. And of course, the most highly touted was Caleb Houston. And, Caleb Houston, it didn't jump out as, oh my God, this guy's going to be a superstar. He's a 5-star, or the beach is going to go on, but it doesn't mean that it won't. It was just an exhibition game, and he wasn't forcing anything or anything like that. But that exhibition game to me was about one of the freshmen, and that was Moussa Diabate. Moussa Diabate was awesome in this game. For the first time that he got called, it was either a travel or an offensive foul. You couldn't rewind to see, and I didn't. The announcer said it was an offensive foul. I thought it was, they're calling him for a travel, but they said he used his chicken wing. But he faced up and went to this move, and it was pretty impressive. And I think that's what jumped out in the exhibition opener to me. Besides, the rotations and things that you would look at, which were different because of Collins and Zeb not being in there. It was Moussa Diabate looking like, wow, man, this guy could be a star. At 6'11", he was showing a different array of shots. He was a live wire all over the place. I liked him. I saw the comparison. I thought he reminded me. It wasn't so long ago that Michigan had a 6'10", so not quite as big, but Epke Udo, who ended up transferring to Baylor, ended up being a first-round pick in the NBA. That's what I thought at first for Diabate. I saw online some comparisons to Jaron Jackson, the former Spartan, and I can see that. I thought that was a pretty good comp, but he was impressive in the exhibition win down there at Wayne State and everything that was going on. Devontae Jones at point, first chance to see him in the maize and blue, the transfer from Coastal Carolina, and he didn't disappoint. He looks good. When you're a point guard, and I had heard him in his news conference before when they're asking him about the adjustment, he's like, look, and I'm running the team. I don't know if he said pass first point guard, but he didn't have to look to score as much. And yeah, everything that I saw from Devontae Jones was good, and somebody, speaking of comparisons, this was not mine. It was actually from the Wolverine Den message board. Somebody said that Devontae Jones reminded him of Muhammad Ali Abdur-Rahman, Mar. And you know what? Yes, Devontae Jones looks a lot like Mar. Wears the same number. And I had the same, they kind of looked the same, had the same, whether it was body style or just kind of the way that the mannerisms, I saw that as well. But looked like a good passer, and sky's the limit there for Devontae Jones. And Michigan basketball opens it up for real coming up day after tomorrow. Buffalo in town. That's a 6:30 jump. They'll be raising the banner. So basketball season officially underway coming up on Wednesday. And of course, the big game against Penn State on Saturday. All right, the Michigan recruiting spotlight here goes back to a commitment over the weekend. Walter Nolan, the number 1 defensive player by Rivals, commits over the weekend to Texas A&M. And I don't think Michigan fans were getting their hopes up. I mean, they were 6 months ago because they landed in one of his top 5s. And, you get in the top 5 of one of the best players in the country, it's going to be an eye raiser. But then he came out with another list that Michigan wasn't on it. And so I think people started losing hope about Nolan pledging here to Ann Arbor, and he didn't. But, the one thing is I saw the quote from Walter Nolan, who is from Tennessee, but he said, quote, "Coach Fisher has been building a lot of good things around here." Now, he's referring to Jimbo Fisher, the head coach at Texas A&M, who is the leading candidate to get the LSU job. So, I don't know, maybe I would say that when you're the leading candidate to get the LSU job and you have the connections that you do with the AD at LSU, if Jimbo Fisher goes to LSU, I'm not even giving a path here to Michigan to get Nolan, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not College Station, if it's Baton Rouge, or if he's like, well, I'll just go back to Tennessee. I don't think that one's done. As firm commitments go, even for the top guy here with the early signing period, what is it exactly? December, what do I have? 15th through 17th coming right up. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Nolan suiting up in a different uniform. The other thing I saw a lot of people when this happened, I think it was Saturday morning, could have been Friday. No, I think it was Saturday, about the commitment. And there were some Michigan fans like, oh, Texas A&M, they must have just made a big offer. Well, they're cheating, or I don't know if they used exactly cheating, or they just paid them off. Well, those are I think old reflexes for Michigan fans when it comes to recruiting. You lose a guy, especially a highly ranked guy, especially one that is from the South, or especially one that ends up going anywhere really in the South, or doesn't go to Michigan, is that, there's something kind of dirty going on, or, the other teams are paying him. You know what? Some of those instances, there's reasons that people have come up with those of kind of scenarios in the past. But where you're at right now, to me, the Texas A&M came with a stronger offer. It's not holding up much. I mean, if you're Michigan and you want the top guys and you want to play in the college football playoffs, and you have this NIL and you have the ability to somehow get money in the pockets of these guys, then that shouldn't be a factor anymore. And I don't think I'm telling people what they should say or what they shouldn't say, but that there's an opportunity there. It just doesn't hold as much water to me anymore, saying that, A&M obviously just paid them, or like they're dirty or something. It's like, you can do it now. You can pay them. So I didn't get that part when it came down to. My focus does, though. I still had a little bit of hope for Nolan. The flip for Damani Jackson, who's a top 10 corner from Rivals, 5-star. Maybe teaming him up with Will Jackson. He's a commitment to USC, who was down at Alabama. Maybe he looked at Tuscaloosa with LSU playing so well and thought, you know what, maybe the tide is shifting a little bit. Forget USC. I'm going to Michigan. Maybe. There's a chance that could happen. Certainly everybody's eyes. People feel, you talk to Michigan fans about that, they feel the flip is a possibility when it comes down. A lot of the reasons, and one of the big reasons, is that SC, I don't know if they're keeping the DB coach who's the interim coach or not, so we'll find out about that. All right, let's get to the Memorabilia Minute. I found a ticket stub. I was going through just a box of cards that I was going to throw out. I don't know, puzzle pieces to baseball cards. These are not even worth having in the basement. Let's just recycle them. And then I found a ticket stub, and I'll put it up here. If you see this ticket stub, it's not much. It's a crumpled up piece of paper from the Palace of Auburn Hills. However, if you look really closely on there, you can see Thursday, November 19th, 1992, Michigan is playing in an exhibition game, the basketball team, against the Russian Nationals. Now, the interesting part that would be about this ticket stub in the Memorabilia Minute, I don't think this would be worth anything. I don't think it's not a very appealing looking ticket. Like I said, it's on a piece of construction paper that was just printed out at the Palace. But if you know your Michigan basketball history, the year 1992-93, Michigan had brought in the Fab Five. And what I remembered about the Fab Five's freshman year is that I think that I went to the first game that the Fab Five was ever. Now, they didn't start that game, but they played, and that Michigan hosted U of D. And I can remember being at that game. Hey, the Fab Five, let's see what they look like. And they didn't list the Nationals, the Russian national game. I looked it up. Michigan did. The first game of the Fab Five at home was against U of D. They went to Rice and they went to Duke, and on the road to start that season out. But this ticket could be, and again, not worth anything, but this ticket could be the first time that anybody was able to see the Fab Five in the maize and blue all the way back then as an exhibition game. I don't know. $1,000? No. I don't think, I think it's worthless, except for 1 minute to talk about in the Memorabilia Minute. All right. We'll be back at you tomorrow. No, this is not the Jim Harbaugh news conference anymore. That's over. And we'll have more for you with Michigan. So Harbaugh, one other thing that he had to say today that I think will get talked a lot about by Michigan fans and across the country is that he was asked about if he had heard from the Big Ten on the calls up in East Lansing, and he said he did. And they had said that they had made the wrong call, in particular on the Hutchinson touchdown, the Ajabo strip. And he said something to, I'm paraphrasing, the effect of that the film don't lie. He was asked about it and gave his response. Now, if you spend any time at all online, you notice that there are a lot of Michigan and non-Michigan fans who are like, stop crying. And Michigan's always just crying about the officials. And why is Jim Harbaugh bringing this up? Our coach would never do this, whatever else. Doesn't do any good. Even some Michigan fans saying, why would you do it? That was a terrible call. Like, if it's a terrible call, does it do any good going back and saying that the Big Ten, does it make you feel does it make me feel any better that the Big Ten, like a call that I knew, that Mike Pereira, that Joel Klatt, that everyone knew was too close to call, that these guys felt that there was irrefutable video evidence to overturn? Does it make you feel any better? No. Does it make you feel any better? Does it do Jim Harbaugh any good? Does it make him feel any better? I don't know if it makes him feel any better. Why does he talk about the call to the Big Ten? Because he was asked. You could say, well, he was asked. Well, there's a lot of things that Jim Harbaugh knows that doesn't have to comment on. Does it matter? No. It's going to have people across the country. Out of everything that was said today, the biggest thing that's going to go play nationally or even here locally that people will fire people up is that Jim Harbaugh talked about the officiating in Michigan State week, a week on that he talked about it. If he'd have asked me, like, hey, Fithian, what do you think I should do? We did hear from the Big Ten. What if I get asked, and if I heard from the Big Ten, I would say, hey, Jim, just say, yeah, you heard from the Big Ten, and we're focusing on Penn State. We're looking at today's practice and having the best practice we can. That's what I would say. But, he went the different route. He wanted to be open and tell people, and hey, you know what? He did what he thought was best. So that's it. All right. We will be here Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And we'll be on the eve of the opener for Michigan basketball, a couple days for Penn State. We'll be talking about all of that. Thanks for watching. listening. That's going to do it here for this afternoon live. See you later.